Hello, welcome to White Door Tarot, where the reader is bubbly, but the readings can get dark. I am a brand spanking new YouTube channel, and what I'm thinking about doing is putting out 4 videos every other week for the per elements of the zodiac signs. They're just going to be general readings. I'm thinking about focusing on love, career, and shadow work. So we'll see how that goes. Well, without further ado, if you see anything that you like here today, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, the whole shebang. And let's get started. Starting with Aries. Oh, well, that was quick. So I'm starting out with the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle cards. And the 3 that I have here, interesting because they're all kind of, if I remember correctly, kind of on the wait and see side of the energy. So first we have here the crocodile, if that'll freaking focus. Nah. There we go. Crocodile. The crocodile reminds us to step back from the external world and turn inward. Now is not the time for decisions, action, or discussion. The crocodile's mantra is wait. This doesn't mean lying around hoping life's challenges will disappear. The crocodile is much smarter than that. It means intentionally withdrawing, gathering our awareness, observing, and building energy. Fill up the vital reserves so your next move comes from a place of wisdom and power. Keywords: resting, submerging, collecting energy, cooling off. And I believe the frog was also kind of something similar. This kind of puts Aries collective right now in a bit of a wait and see, focus on self-care kind of place. All right, frog. Keywords: clearing, cleansing, healing. The frog and the water element are almost inseparable. The frog spends its first months of life entirely within this healing element and then emerges to rest on land. But no matter how earthly the frog becomes, its need for cleansing and rejuvenation is regular. Frogs tend to become overworked and undernourished, so it's vital that such sensitive creatures practice self-care. This card serves as a reminder that water helps us cleanse, forgive, and release. Time to dive in. Frogs aren't meant to carry a heavy load. As you can see, I'm in my reptile room, so I tend to have a soft spot for critters like this. Next, we got the bat. I don't think I've ever personally pulled the bat from this deck before, so let's see what that means. Whenever I do readings for myself on this deck, I pull the vulture card. Here we go. Oh, okay. Darkness, letting go. Death leading to rebirth. Before emerging, the bat waits for the sun to set and the moon to rise. In the darkness, it can see all that was invisible in the daylight hours. The bat is a master of the subtle senses of the underlying forces that cause some things to prosper and others to fade. The bat card shows up to signify the ending of a chapter, the closing of a door. The bat comes swiftly, encouraging us to move on. In just a few hours, a new day dawns. No more lingering in the past. I didn't read it for the other ones, but I felt inclined to read the when in balance, when out of balance, to bring into balance parts of this. So when in balance, the bat accepts, adapts, adjusts. When out of balance, refuses to let go, reminisces. To bring into balance, watch the sunrise. So, with these oracle cards setting the kind of overarching energy of these readings, let's go to love. What a lot of people go to tarot YouTubers for. All right. Past. Recent past. These cards are slippery. Oh, here we go. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, okay. One more. One more for the recent past. There we go. Mm. Okay. In the recent past, we have the Nine of Swords, the Star, and then the Five of Wands. I was oofing and offing because the Nine of Swords is a very gnarly looking card. In the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot, it signifies or represents anguish. Anguish. But then right next to it, we have the Star. If that'll focus. I don't know how YouTubers do the thing where they get the camera to focus on the card with all this lighting going on. But anyway, and then we have the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands is usually conflict, combat, kind of inner or external turmoil or disagreements or falling out. I want to clarify the Star. Do I want to clarify with, yeah, I'm going to use my Horror Major Arcana deck for that. Clarify the Star. Any day now? Nope. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, clarifying the Star, we have the Devil. What this tells me is that it feels like a failure to launch. A failure to launch, because the Star is kind of, it's a hope, wish, dream. It's something that we want. So it feels like the Aries collective, or some Aries people, whoever this resonates with, found something that they thought that they wanted, but it almost feels like that very thing that they wanted also uncovered things either within themselves or the other person, or both, things that still bind you from the past. This feels like an energy of kind of, because what I'm seeing here is kind of a light, it's almost like a balloon that's being weighed down by chains. So it feels like the hope also came with a lot of triggers. It feels like the want also came with a lot of doubts, a lot of fears. And that led to, and I say that because, again, we have the Nine of Swords here. And that led to conflict between you and the other person. Let me pull a couple more. Yep. Oh, okay. So we also have here the Seven of Wands, and this to me feels like new hope. It feels like a renewed hope. It feels like because this star was bright enough that there is still a little bit of a flicker of the flame left for reconciliation. But with the Mother of Wands, you see how she's depicted as a snake coiled around her eggs. That feels a lot like there's still this defensive energy. It's almost, okay, I heard, what'd you say? Self-preservation. Self-preservation is kind of taking the front seat right now. Self-preservation over this star. However, closing it out, we also have strength. If I can get it to Norbert. Yep, Norbert's the magic spot that can maybe make this more visible. Anyway, we have strength, which in this deck is the lion by himself without some lady shoving her hand in his mouth. It feels like perseverance. It feels like attaining this is going to come at the cost of a lot of self-healing, a lot of inner work, a lot of shadow work, a lot of personal growth. And with the 3 oracle cards that we pulled at the beginning, it feels like that's exactly what you are going through. But in the end, it seems like it'll be worth it. Okay? Just double checking. Do you have anything else? Oh no! Interesting. Ooh, oh. Lots of cups. Ooh, okay. So we have the 6 of Wands, and that's about re-emerging with a new found hope. And we have the Son of Wands, which in this deck represents inspired action. And then we also have the Daughter of Cups and the Son of Cups. So it looks like 2 very fresh, kind of youthful energies coming together. And finally, we also have the Empress. Now that to me tells me that this is a connection that is going to trigger a lot of growth for you and your person. And it's going to be very much worth it in the end. But the fact that it wasn't, the Mother and the Father of Cups that came out, or the Lovers, or anything wild like that, tells me that you're supposed to begin together, and you're supposed to walk together. You're supposed to grow together. Neither of you are perfect, and neither of you are finished products. And if you can just find the courage to get out of self-preservation mode and face each other as you grow, rather than getting shy or scared about your imperfections, it will be a very nourishing, nurturing connection. Okay. So now let's go to career. Come on. Come out correct. There we go. Cool. Mm, 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 mm. That's too much. Again, these cards are slippery. That one bounced. Ooh, okay. All right. So some of you may have lost your job, or you're about to end it. I say that because the way this came out, okay, let me show you. So I have the Mother of Cups, and that's more pulling from heart energy. It's more pulling from the heart space. It feels like there's something else that you feel pulled towards. This is all about the realm of feeling. It's almost like the energy that I'm getting is you're working a job and you're just like, every time I come in here, I die a little bit on the inside. That's the energy that I'm getting. But there's that, it's either you found something else that makes you go, I really want to do that instead. I feel like I would feel a little less dead on the inside if I did that. Kind of could that be my purpose kind of spark. Otherwise there's also another feeling of kind of, I don't know what my purpose is, but I know it's not this. But then we also have the Eight of Pentacles. Come on. Come on. And as you can see, it's a spider web. And this is about mastering your craft. Okay, so another thing that I just heard is there's something that you're already good at. There's something that you don't realize you can monetize. There's a hidden talent of yours, or something else in your toolbox that you can use that feels more aligned with who you are than what you do for a living currently. The outcome looks good, with it being this with the lack of focus just looks like a butthole, but that is the sun, and the sun is just a positive energy. So that feels like if you pursue that track, if you say, okay, I'm done, I'm gonna be brave and switch career tracks, or try something new that isn't new to me, the outcome is going to be very positive. However, it also, on the flip side, comes with a feeling of lack, a feeling of loss. Probably because you're walking away from what is familiar to you. And with the Son of Swords being a very young sword energy, almost feels like there's a part of you that's hesitating, because you're like, am I just being hasty about this? Am I making a split decision? Should I think this out a little more? Again, drawing back to the crocodile, frog, bat energy. Should I think this out a little more? And then we have the Ten of Swords here, signifying an ending. It feels like something that you've done for a while, maybe years. And it's saying goodbye to familiarity to try something new. And with all the stuff that's going on in the planets right now, it feels like now's a good time to do things like this, because just basically the general vibe of the planetary movements right now, it's trying to draw people closer to their purpose. So I think it was like 4 years ago, I put out a prediction on my Facebook. I was like, yeah, I had a weird dream that I was sitting in a room talking to a monk, and behind them there were these giant scales, and they were kind of teeter-tottering, and he looked at me and I was looking at him, and he said, the scales are shifting and the world is going to change. And then I woke up with this just like profound feeling that society as we know it, like the way that we do society, the way that people earn money, the way that people make a living, the way that we function as a society is all going to change. And I put that out there 4 years ago. And I said that it feels almost like this structure is crumbling. Like we're just having a collective tower moment. The tower card in tarot is about faulty foundations, faulty structures, things that weren't really built to last, crumbling so that we can build something better. And that's what it feels like we're going through collectively right now. And I think that you're having your own little moment like that, Aries. I feel like you're you're teeter-tottering between, should I let go of what is familiar to try to pursue something new? But there's also a sense of loss, a sense of mourning, a sense of, discomfort with that. Of course, when you make drastic changes in your life, there's always going to be a little bit of discomfort, or a lot bit of discomfort. But it seems like whatever path, whatever new path you set your mind to is going to be very good for you, as shown here with the butthole card. I mean, the sun. All right. So basically, be brave. Now is a good time to pursue what feels more aligned with your purpose. All right, now let's get into shadow work. And the shadow work part, I'd imagine, would tie more closely with the 3 oracle cards from the beginning. Father of Cups, Ace of Wands, Eight of Cups, Five of Wands here again, Eight of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune. I don't read reversals, by the way, not with this deck. Ace of Swords, Five of Pentacles, Ten of Swords, the Sun. Okay, wait. How do we get from the Ten of Swords to the Sun? Feel like telling me? I just heard somebody say, look at the oracle cards. It's true. Okay. All right. Hoy. This feels like a lot of back and forth energy, not going to lie, Aries. So in the shadow work part of this, we have the Father of Cups and the Ace of Wands. And this feels like something sparked both your deeper, more that place inside of you that is a mix of wisdom and feeling and emotion, and at the same time somehow made you feel youthful and inspired. The Ace of Wands always feels like a kind of almost like Ash Ketchum in Pokemon when he first embarked on his journey, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go get my first Pokemon. And then, yeah. But then he got there, and Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander were all taken. And whatever made you feel the sense of loss immediately after that inspiration, that little spark that you found, also came with a lot of conflict. And then we also have, though, the Wheel of Fortune. And that tells me that the game isn't over yet. However, I feel like this also ties deeply into that love reading that I just did for you. We also have the Ace of Swords, or yeah, the Ace of Swords. Um, and that's about initiating communication or an inspiring thought or kind of like an aha moment, like a eureka moment through all this. I wouldn't say after all this, I would say through all this. It's almost like you have the energy that I'm getting is it's almost like you had this spark, you felt young again, but at the same time it also kind of triggered deep feelings and wisdom within you and this like older, more knowing side of you while also making you feel young again at the same time. And then that didn't work out. But the Wheel of Fortune being the card of, hey, luck is still on your side, is here. It's also kind of a anything could still happen card. But the Ace of Swords following the Wheel of Fortune almost tells me that your fate is more in your hands than you think. Because, okay, so the reason why I say that is because all of this feels like very wishy-washy. It feel like energetically, it feels very vague, wispy. It feels very un-Aries like. Aries is usually, the sign that you'd associate with do now, think later, kind of thing. But this feels very thinky, feely, which is really weird coming through in an Aries reading. But it's almost like after the Wheel of Fortune, it feels like you snap back into yourself. You snap back into the sharp thinkers that we know you to be. However, with the Eight of Swords, see this chrysalis hanging above all those swords pointing right at it, there's almost a sense of urgency. There's almost a sense of the timing is delicate. There's a sense of if you come out of the chrysalis too soon, you're just going to come out as goo and you're just going to drip to the ground and it's going to be gross and it's going to just spatter all over the swords and that's disgusting. But if you don't come out of the chrysalis soon enough, you might just wither and die in there. So this card, to me at least, always feels like the timing is the key here, where you don't want to come out of it too soon, but you don't want to come out of it too late. You need to know that you're ready. And once you know that you're ready, you need to go do the thing. You need to go Ace of Swords. There we go. And it seems like the thing that's holding you back here is Five of Pentacles. This came out in your job reading too. The sense of loss, the brutal ending. And when I asked how to get from that Ten of Swords to the Sun, because that was a very drastic change, I got the Five of Swords, and this is about self-destruction. Basically, what this is saying, your work right now is to learn the difference between intuition and anxiety. It's to learn the difference between turning inward and doing the work, the self-awareness that it takes for self-improvement. The difference between that kind of energy where you're like, okay, I'm seeing myself objectively, I know where I need to do the work, I see my own imperfections, I see where I went wrong. It's about learning the difference between that and just straight up self-deprecation, because that is self-destructive behavior. Okay, so when we do the inner work takes courage. Inner work takes having the maturity and the integrity to stop and say, okay, I see myself objectively. I see how my actions affect other people. I see where in my life is just kind of a result of my own choices. Like if we're not happy with where we are at, seeing how we led ourselves there. We're not the product of our circumstances. It's that we made decisions based on our circumstances and our experiences that weren't necessarily the right ones. Let's just put it that way. Inner work takes courage because it's also humiliating. It's also painful to admit to yourself that you are where you are because you put yourself there. Now I get that there are extenuating circumstances that lead us to where we are sometimes, but we often forget how much power we really still have in moments like that. When things happen to us, it's easy to forget that, hey, I still have control over my life. To a certain extent, but still. And this almost feels a lot like um, still sitting in the energy of, well, I am the way that I am because of XYZ. So it's like, that much, but you're at a point where you're asking yourself, so now what? It's almost like something sparked in you that made you think, is this really how I want to continue to be? Where are my thought patterns and choices and actions um, just self-destructive? It looks like something triggered you into that. And once you get out of that wait and see energy and healing and doing the inner work, sitting in the shadow until you can go back towards the light, like once you can get through all that, it feels like you're going to hit a moment where you're like, I can still do something about this. I still have something to say. And there's still something that I can do. So it looks like your inner work is going to lead you to, again, it still just looks like a butthole until it focuses. Come on now. There you go. It looks like your inner shadow work is actually leading you to an external positive experience or result. There's a reward at the end of this. There's a light at the end of the tunnel here. But again, you need to do your work, process this, find your spark again, and be mindful of timing. You don't want to go at it before you're ready to go at it, if that makes sense. Like if you try to go back to this too soon, you wouldn't have done all of the work that you need to do. There is a version of yourself that you need to become before you can reapproach this. And that could be work. It could be the love reading that we did. It could be anything in your life, really. It's something that made you happy, but also made you realize that you weren't ready for. Okay, I totally could have summed this up a lot faster. Basically, something made you happy. You realized you weren't ready for it. Now get ready for it. And then do the thing. But watch the timing. Ow. I'm not bleeding. I'm fine. But also, you still get a favorable outcome, both for your career reading and for your shadow work reading. So that's the vibe for the first half of September. And I hope that this helped a unusually emo, yeah, Aries person. All right, moving on to my Leo gang. Sorry, as a Taurus myself, I just love Leo people. They're the people that you go to when you're just like, hey, my mental health is in the gutter. Hype me up. And you go up to it like an evolved Leo, and they just shower you with compliments. Those are the people that have all the self-confidence. They're just so confident with themselves, but their confidence is also contagious. You know what I mean? Like they love themselves so much that they make you love yourself too. Yep. So anyway, love you guys. Let's pull your oracles. Gazelle. Oh, let me show the camera, I guess. There we go. Gazelle. Also exactly 3. Funny. Otter and oyster. Where do I hold? There we go. No. There we go. All right. Let's see. Kind of a different vibe from what I normally expect from a Leo. Let's see. Gazelle. Heightened awareness and ability, and vulnerable. The gazelle represents supreme grace. With every move, this awe-inspiring beauty emits sophistication and elegance. Gazelle personalities are often hyper-aware of their surroundings, bordering on hyper-vigilant, and this can inhibit them from enjoying the beauty they've spent so much effort cultivating. No more worrying about all those predators out there in the wild. When this card appears, it's time to get back to the present moment. Sit down, find your breath, and acknowledge the bounty that surrounds you. Let it nourish your gentle spirit. When in balance, graceful, perceptive, artistic. When out of balance, food allergies, insomnia, and racing mind. To bring into balance, yin yoga, a cozy home, good food. Otter. Found oyster. Otter. Unobstructed joy, playfulness, contentment. Perhaps the most joyful creature within the animal spirit deck, the otter represents absolute bliss. Otter energy is the playfulness of a child, available to us at any age. They have a giddiness and reverence for life itself without the presence of doubt, worry, or skepticism. Imagine yourself with a little more otter energy. What would life look like? What would it take to bring you there? The otter card begs these questions and wants to transport us to that precious place as soon as possible. The celebration awaits. When in balance, full of love, needs nothing. When out of balance, gloomy sighs make silly excuses. To bring into balance, dance party or celebration. I personally know a Leo that does like to throw a lot of parties. Oyster. Patient, secret keeper, hiding inner treasures. The focus and determination of the oyster is unmatched. Anything an oyster personality puts their mind to, they achieve with grace and charm. The only problem is, oyster types often take their inner gifts for granted. They become shy or doubtful, and this can lead to withdrawing or protecting their deepest desires and life's work. When the oyster card appears, it's important to reveal your inner treasures. What is it you've been hesitant to share? The world is waiting to see. When in balance, feels blessed, generous, masterful. When out of balance, reluctant, gripping, clams up. To bring into balance, share something. Overall, this feels like almost feels like you're in an environment that makes you feel the need to protect yourself. And that's very not Leo like. The otter is kind of more the Leo vibes, but it feels like something on the outside is suppressing your razzle dazzle right now. So let's see what that's all about. Let's refresh this from the Aries reading. These are tough to shuffle. All right. Starting with love, recent past, and we go from there. Perfect. 3 cards. Okay, so we have the 7 of Cups. Looks like you had quite a few choices. No. Choices, but not all of them were as they seemed. Because the 7 of Cups is about illusion. It's about masks. But it also feels, how do I want to put this? Okay. All right. We also have the 6 of Cups here, which is about nostalgia, going back to your roots kind of energy, something that pulls on your heartstrings, I almost feel like. And then we also have the Father of Wands. There we go. And that feels like, how do I explain this? It feels like something was presented to you, but it wasn't as it seemed, and it tugged on your heartstrings. It made you nostalgic. Oh, this almost feels like an ex. This feels like an ex coming in like, hey, remember how much we loved each other? Remember all the good times? And then you're just like, yeah, but also, remember how you did other stuff that wasn't so good? I'm not sure how much I can cuss on YouTube, but this feels like an unwelcome revisiting, if that makes sense. The Father of Wands isn't inherently a bad card. It's not. It's just, it feels like, especially coming out with the 7 of Cups, it almost feels like kind of when they come back, you kind of give them the side eye a little bit, like, are you coming correct this time? Yep. Five of Wands again. A lot of conflict. There was a lot of conflict in the past, but they're just like, hey, you remember all the good stuff? Focus on the good stuff. No. Don't look up. Don't look over there. Forget about that stuff. You remember the good stuff? I just got that butthole card again. The Sun, the 10 of Cups, and the Lovers. Wow. 2 of Wands. No, don't fall for it, Leo. Don't fall for it. They're just like, yeah, remember all the good stuff, the sun, the 10 of cups, all this like lovey-dovey energy. Hey, remember that really awesome date that I took you on that was so Leo, because Leos like to be wined and dined and all that stuff. And the lovers, but the lovers is not just about a relationship. It's also a card telling you that you have a decision to make. Enforced, reaffirmed with the Two of Wands. It's kind of a, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? Kind of energy. Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups. There's a love offer being made. There's a love offer being made, but should you take it? Should you take it? Okay, all right. I'll give this person the benefit of the doubt. We have Temperance, and we also have Mother of Cups. Okay, so that to me feels like someone that has actually done some inner work. It feels like they have somewhat changed. I will leave that to your intuition. Always trust your intuition, your own intuition, over some YouTube tarot reader. Okay, like, I know I'm good, but I'm not good enough to just have the magic answer for all of your situations. But if somebody comes back from the past, just make sure to peek around the bushes and make sure that they did indeed do this work before you take them up on their offer. Because I have a theory about on and off relationships. Like, if you broke up, there was a reason. If you split up, there was a reason. And unless that reason is gone because they worked on themselves, it's not going to work the second time around either. So I wouldn't say have like a absolutely never come back again policy, but sometimes, like we talked about in the Aries reading, sometimes people meet, stuff happens, it doesn't work out, but it was just meant to trigger your inner growth, your shadow work. And then sometimes once you get through that shadow work, both of you get through that shadow work and you do the inner work. Sometimes you can come back together and it can work the second time around. But use your discernment, please. So that's all that I can say about that. If they try, that might be why the oyster and the gazelle are here. Oh, okay. All right, there's another way of looking at this. Okay, so there was a situation where I gave my advice to a friend. Her ex did some stuff to her. I told her, if I were you, I would not take him back. He tried to come back. I said I would not take him back. But if you are going to take him back, make sure that you have fully forgiven him. Because if you drag the past into the present, it's never going to work. If you let resentment drag on, and affect your new relationship now, as in, if they're getting back together, you're kind of starting a new relationship with a past person. You basically treat it like a clean slate. So that's why before you start back with an ex, make sure that they've done the inner work. Make sure that you've done the inner work and that you've fully forgiven them for the past before you take them back. Because if you cannot forgive them, your resentment is going to sour the present. I've kind of been on the receiving end of that. I wasn't the ex that came back. I never go back to my exes, but being on the receiving end of someone that, no matter how good your intentions are for them, just cannot get themselves to trust you or open up to you. is also a painful experience. This gazelle and the oyster, it almost feels like someone that's just waiting for the other shoe to drop, somebody that's looking for reasons for the situation to fail, um, and just holding a microscope to the relationship. And being on the receiving end of that is tough too, because it's almost like you're being set up for failure. It's like, okay, I'm here with good intentions, but if you keep looking at me like I'm a criminal or something, or self-sabotaging, or pushing me away, or um acting like you can't trust me when I haven't really done anything to break your trust, that's a tough foundation to build on. There's no foundation there. So this almost feels like, okay, a past person might be coming back. Make sure you do your discernment to make sure that they've done the inner work, before you take them back. But also, if you do take them back, make sure that you've forgiven them. Make sure that you're not in a place where you're still holding them under a microscope because of what they did before. And that's kind of the art of mastering, knowing the difference between your intuition and your anxiety. That really is just the difference between knowing the difference, between your intuition and your anxiety. Yeah, this feels like a reconciliation with a warning label. I'm not gonna lie. Make sure that they've changed. Make sure that you've forgiven them. That's the key takeaway here. Okay, moving on to career. Ah, my life is falling apart. Oh, okay. It's funny because as I said, my life is falling apart. We've got the Four of Wands, which is literally about stability and foundations, good foundations. All right. Mm. Let's pull another one. Surrounding. Well, that just flew across the room. Cool. So the ones that flew across the room were the Four of Pentacles and the Magician. Okay. So we start out here with death. I know, not what you want to see in a career reading, but it in tarot, death is death and rebirth. It comes with the and rebirth part. So it feels like when I pulled this Eight of Wands, you see how there's like a rainbow lightning, is it rainbow? Yeah, rainbow lightning strike on that one sword or wand. It feels like you got a second wind in your career. My lights are going out because it's bedtime for the reptile room. Anywho, It feels like you got a second wind in your career, like a newfound inspiration. And that could be within the same career path, or it could have also been with the Nine of Wands, a promotion. Because in this deck, the Nine of Wands is drawn as stairs and then the moon at the top. Could have been a promotion that gave you a newfound sense of appreciation for what you already do. However, the Lovers is here again. Does this help? Does putting my hand here help? I see people do that. No, just putting a little shade on it probably will. Anyway, the Lovers is here again. And this time it feels like it's speaking solely of the decision that you have to make. I don't know how to describe this. It feels though like that inspiration that struck when you got, either a promotion or, something good happened in your career. Maybe it wasn't even a promotion. Maybe it was just that somebody actually acknowledged your hard work or something like that. It almost feels like it was like, yay, but this feels a lot like my hard work is being rewarded with a pizza party. It almost feels like you had a moment of joy there in your career that was just okay. This almost feels like okay, my job's not terrible, you know. It makes me happy sometimes. Some moments are good, but it's not feeding my soul is what it feels like. But with the Father of Pentacles, along with the Four of Wands, along with the Four of Pentacles, which is about holding on tightly to things. The Four of Wands, like I said earlier, is about solid foundations, stability. Father of Pentacles also feels like someone that's stable. It feels like it's a good, stable job that sometimes has good moments, but is that enough for me? And I say that because we also have the Magician here. Let's pull a couple more, see what's going on. Ace of Pentacles. Interesting. I'll take note of that. There it is. Remember how in the beginning I said that it feels like the Leos are in a situation or environment that makes them feel like they have to protect themselves? Something is suppressing their razzle dazzle. We have the Seven of Swords here, and the Seven of Swords is about deception. But in this deck, it's a fox that is sleeping with one eye open and a sword tucked under its body because it doesn't trust its surroundings. So it feels like there is a job where your stability is pretty much guaranteed. You feel like, okay, this is okay. It pays the bills. Sometimes people tell me I do a good job. Sometimes we have pizza parties. Everything's okay. I have my moments, but for the most part, everything's sound and okay. And sometimes I feel happy. But at the same time, it almost feels like you're telling yourself that, with the Four of Pentacles being here. It almost feels like you're convincing yourself of that. But there's a part of you that doesn't feel fully fulfilled. And also, it doesn't make your soul happy. And also, you don't trust something about your job, whether it be the job stability or the people around you or a person around you. There's something that makes you feel like you need to stay vigilant. And the Magician, and me pulling the Ace of Pentacles after the Magician, it almost feels like starting something else would be a huge risk for what seems like right now just a very little return. Because, you're giving up the Father of Pentacles and the Four of Wands for an Ace of Pentacles, which is just a seed of a possibility. That's the unknown. You're too familiar with this to leave it for an unknown. Four of Cups. Four of Cups. Four of Cups is about opportunity. Not missed opportunity, just an opportunity that you're not noticing. And I pulled that for the Ace of Pentacles. So that almost feels like there is another option for you that is going to turn out better than you think it will. Potentially better than what you have now. It's almost like, do I give up 90? No, I wouldn't even go as far as 90. Like 80% of good for a question mark percent. But this is saying that it's actually going to turn out better than you think it will. And then we have the Ace of Swords. This to me feels like something's going to happen that's going to make, like, some communication is going to come in, or a thought is going to occur to you, or you're going to notice something that you hadn't noticed before about the environment that you're in that's going to make the jump worth it. It's going to seem more worth it to you. I don't know, Leos. I don't know. This feels a lot like I'm just going to out and say it. It seems like you're lying to yourself about how okay you are with the way that things are. You're convincing yourself that things are okay when you feel that they are not. But they're okay enough that you're complacent. That almost taking a risk to leave that okayness feels just risky. But I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel more underlying danger in remaining where you are than in taking the leap. I will just say that. All right, let's get into the shadow readings. We're getting a lot of similar cards to your job reading. So I feel like in your case, it almost feels tied in. There we go. Okay. Oh, now we're seeing a little bit more of the otter energy. Okay. These first four cards here, we have the Ace of Swords, Three of Swords, Pain, Broken Heart, Three of Cups, Harmony, Four of Wands, again, Foundation, Stability, Seven of Swords, again, Deception, Ace of Pentacles, New opportunity, just a small seed of something new. Temperance, Mother of Cups, Ten of Wands, Burdens. Oh, Mother of Cups is basically the equivalent of the Queen of Cups, which is somebody that actually exists in love and nurtures herself and nurtures others. That's going to be key. And then finally, the Fool. Baby bird taking first steps. Okay. So with the Ace of Swords and the Three of Swords, again, Leo, this is very not like you, but it feels like the energy of, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to say or do anything that's going to cause any sort of turbulence. I want to just kind of float on by on the surface. Everything's fine. I'll act like everything's fine. When Deception came out this time, when the Seven of Swords came out this time, it almost, again, it feels like you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. But this first set of cards here, it feels like you're doubting your ability to build again. But something tells me that you've been through something like that before. Like you've been at a point in your life where you had nothing before. And if you look at what you've accomplished, how you've recovered from that, and where you are now, why are you doubting your ability to build again? You've already done it before, is what I'm hearing. Ace of Pentacles. Something tells me that you have started with a seed and grown many trees before already. You've seen your own resilience firsthand, so why are you doubting it now? Temperance, Mother of Cups. You've healed from things before and come out soft and nurturing and loving. You didn't harden, you became kinder. But there's still a backbone of steel in there that has gotten you so far, thus far. Ten of Wands, sometimes that feels like a heavy burden, like you're still carrying things from the past. It's almost like you're only remembering the parts where you failed or where you lost things. but forgetting about the parts where you recovered from those L's, where you built something bigger and better from those losses. So, in your journey of inner work in the beginning of September, however you want to apply this to your life, remember your own resilience. Remember your own ability to recover from what seemed like hopeless situations. You've been in situations like that quite a few times in your life, and you have come back stronger and better and kinder every time. The Fool is about taking a leap of faith. The Fool is about starting new and fresh. So basically, what all this says to me is follow the joy. Even if it means having to take another L, follow the joy. Because your inner world is just as important as your external world. And something about the general vibe of your job reading and your shadow work reading is telling me that there's something that you deep down know you need to leave behind, but you don't want to. You're scared to. You don't know how you're going to recover from walking away from an 80% okay situation. And that's because you're forgetting what you're made of. I said in the beginning that Leos are really good at hyping people up. So I guess this is just me trying to hype the Leos up. You remember what you're made of. Don't be afraid to start again. You've already done it before. You can do it again as many times as you need to in pursuit of happiness. All right. So that's it for the Leos. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And we're going on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius, let's go. All right, starting with, yeah, I figured Sagittarius energy would be intense. Okay, so we have the Bee. Oh, wow. Unicorn and the Phoenix. Nice. All right. Let's see what that's about. Bee. Earnest, hardworking, democratic. The Bee personality is a delight to be around, especially when there's a team project on the horizon. Bees love to work steadily and thoughtfully until the final task is complete. They are sensitive creatures, aware of many subtleties at once. Since they're artists at heart, they usually add creative details to the overall vision. For the most part, they have bustling, joyous personalities until they're too tired from all the work. Then they gripe, and then sting. Sounds about right for Saggies. When in balance, content, active, vibrant. When out of balance, overworked, annoyed. To bring into balance, mini vacation. Oh, but it looks like we've got some big things going on with Phoenix and the Unicorn here. Unicorn, reconnecting to higher wisdom or divinity. It's difficult to see, hear, or think of a unicorn without immediately questioning if it's real. Did they ever exist? Perhaps long, long ago? Sorry, I have a dog the size of a horse. I don't know if the mic caught that. Perhaps long, long ago. The mind answers maybe, or it could be, or no way. This very contemplation explains our relationship with divinity and encapsulates our wavering belief in the unicorn. We wonder what divinity is, we wonder where our intuition comes from, and if we can really trust it. We think about a higher power and our mind hesitates between yes, no, and maybe. Is it male or female? Does it have a name? Is it just a feeling? The unicorn card appears and wakes us up to curiosity about the higher self and the divine. It is a card of questioning, exploring, and contemplating the inexplicable. The mind's eye knows there is something beyond our day to day lives, a deeper dimension to our experiences. The mind's eye reaches and reaches and reaches out to grasp something more. You are the unicorn and you have begun your quest for the answers. And finally, the phoenix, freedom from suffering and past karma, reincarnation. The phoenix represents the transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running from it, denying it, or burning bridges with rage. The phoenix employs an advanced technique described in yoga as the burning of impurities through practice and dedication. The essence of the phoenix is with us when we realize we have been suffering too long and something must change. We take a stand and decide to live consciously instead of being driven by the unconscious mind and its long list of fears and aversions. At that very moment, the spark of the phoenix is lit and the great bird helps us burn through our baggage. We no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, or what we have done. The stuckness and dead weight fall into the ashes and a lightness and clarity emerge. As the stagnancy continues to smolder, the phoenix lifts our spirits up and up, and we begin to recognize ourselves again. We may catch a glimmer in our eye that wasn't there before. Look closely. It's a sign the fire of transformation is upon your wings. Yeah, this is already getting pretty deep. Let's see what's up. Love, recent past, Ace of Cups, new love offer, Mother of Pentacles. When that just came out, I felt finally my heart can rest. So let's take note of that. Daughter of Cups. Ten of Cups. Two of Cups. Holy wow. This is looking really good. I hope I didn't just jinx it. Nope. Ten of Pentacles. What was that? Nine of Cups. Okay, so this looks really good, actually. So you have the Mother of Pentacles, and I heard finally my heart can rest. Daughter of Cups. To me, that feels like finally my heart can rest. Finally, I can be soft again. Ten of Cups is abundance in feeling abundant. It's again, the cups are about emotions, feelings, whatnots. Two of Cups signifies to me here a partnership. Ten of Pentacles, you know what? I just realized that this Ten of Pentacles card only has 9 pentacles in it. No, it doesn't. It has another one in the middle. Never mind, ignore me. But the Ten of Pentacles is also about something that is stable, as in like materially stable. And then we also have the Nine of Cups here, which to me is the card of, being happy with yourself. being on your own 2 feet and being happy with what you have on your own. So in tarot, like, the 9 is kind of as far as you can get on your own, is how I see it. Because then when we get into the 10s, the ultimate abundance, that usually involves another person. Because when you look at the 9 of Cups, or the 9 of Pentacles in the traditional tarot, it's, a lady harvesting her own grapes. It's like, yeah, I worked hard for this. I like where I'm at on my own. But then when you look at the 10 of Cups, in my other deck, it's a family. It's a woman and a man and a child. Not that I think that there's any traditional cookie cutter way that a family is supposed to look like, but that's basically the intent behind that card. Where was I going with this? Right. Okay. So this feels like you've found something that not only makes you feel loved, but also encourages you to love yourself. And that could also be, not to sound cheesy, but the wind beneath your phoenix wings right now. It could be inspiring you to elevate higher than what you've ever done for yourself before. It's something that's good and healthy, and that inspires more growth, and inspires you to become even better than you've ever been. And that is pretty much the epitome of what I think relationships are supposed to do for a person. Relationships aren't, oh, don't get me started on this. I got myself started on this. So you hear a lot of people that are just like, oh, I'm staying single to protect my peace. But really what they're doing is they're just isolating themselves so that they don't get triggered and don't have to look at themselves. Protecting my peace doesn't always mean what they think they're saying, if that makes sense. And there are a lot of people that do that insist that a relationship is just supposed to be peaceful all the time, never have any conflict whatsoever. First red flag, I'm out, kind of thing. But a real solid relationship is where 2 people look at each other and say, okay, I'm imperfect, you're imperfect. I'm imperfect, you're imperfect. But let's strive to be better together. That is a healthy relationship. A red flag is a red flag. Use your intuition, use your discernment. But sometimes red flags are just signals of past hurt, trauma, something that you can heal together. That's what a relationship is supposed to be, is you're supposed to heal together, and become better together, knowing that you have someone in your corner that is walking that scary path of introspection and personal growth with you, so you're not alone in it. It's supposed to give you the foundation of unconditional love. And by unconditional, I don't even mean like, oh yeah, I will take your BS indefinitely forever. Like, no, you have to seriously intend on becoming a better person, not just for the other person, but also for yourself. um and this feels like that's what it is. This feels like a relationship in which both parties are self-aware, open to growth, able to communicate, and able to work through the stuff together. I have no advice for this. This is good. I mean, I guess if there's a Saggy out there that just needed confirmation that the relationship that they're in that feels good is good, there you go. Good. All right. Next. Jobs. No. Whatever was meant to come out will come out. Hmm. So, with the Ace of Cups, the Two of Cups, and the Ten of Pentacles being here, I feel like this ties into the good, healthy relationship that you have going on. But your career is not looking so hot. I mean, it will, but it's in the presentish, pastish energy. It feels like a disappointment, honestly. It feels like there was something that either you're still at that job or you already left it. But with the Three of Cups, harmony, and the Star, hopes and dreams, being here, it feels like you had high hopes for this job. But then shortly after, we have the Eight of Cups, disappointment, loss, regret, or walking away from something. And the Mother of Wands, again, that kind of self-preservation energy. And then also the Five of Swords, which is again self-destruction. It almost feels like something that you had high hopes for turned out to be not good for your health. It's something that either you're being overworked, or it's too stressful and it's starting to affect your health, your mental health, your physical health. It's not working out for you. It's not what it seemed to be in the beginning. In the beginning, you were like, oh, wow, this job is awesome. It checks all of these boxes. This is going to be great. And then, no, it's not. But it does seem like you are making a plan, Three of Pentacles. And then the Seven of Wands, to start something else, to start something new. I have a feeling that you already have new prospects. And then with the Ace of Cups, Two of Cups, and the Ten of Pentacles being here, it feels like your partner is fully supportive of your want to switch lanes. However, with the Three of Swords being here, Three of Swords is usually depicted as three swords kind of stabbed into a heart, not in this deck's case, but that to me feels like something personal. It almost feels like when you leave this situation, either it's going to hurt some friendships or it's going to feel like a betrayal to someone. But this doesn't give me the feel that you're the one that's going to get hurt. I mean, yeah, it's going to sting, but it feels a little more complicated than simply quitting a job. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe you know. But that's also why it takes some planning to get out. Maybe you're working for a friend or you're working for a small business where everybody's pretty tight knit. You feel like you're going to be losing some of your personal connections in this. I don't know why I said collections. But with all this going on, it does feel like it's the better choice for you. You're doing the right thing for you. Yeah, we have the Six of Wands. So the re-emerging butterfly coming out from the rubble. So it seems like you're going to be okay, and you're doing the right thing for yourself. Seems like you have someone in your corner supporting you on this decision. Give me a little more on outcome. Ten of Swords. Okay. Yeah, this ending's going to be a little gnarlier than I initially thought. But Two of Pentacles, you're juggling what? What are you juggling? What two things are you trying to decide between? That's dramatic. So we have the Death card, the Father of Pentacles, stability, and the Son of Wands, inspiration. Boy. It feels like something about the ending of this job is what's really weighing heavy for you. And it feels like the personal aspect of it that's weighing heavy on you. But at the same time, I know that the Death card has its own set meaning in the book, but this feels like when I see this bird, it's a decomposing bird. It feels like you're running yourself into the ground over this job. It feels like you need something else, something else, because it's sucking you dry. And with the Two of Pentacles looking at it now, and the way that the cards just kind of happen to get put down on the table, it feels like you're juggling between the weight of that ending and the healthier version of yourself that's more stable, more grounded, more, healthier. The outcome of leaving this situation, basically the positive outcome of leaving this situation. It's like, does that positivity justify how brutal the ending is going to be? And you already know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, yeah, do what's best for yourself, do what's best for your health, because a job is a job. A job is a job. It is, yes, it's ideal if we can do what inspires us, if we can do what we love to do. And even in the cases where we do get to do that stuff for a living, balance is important. You still have to balance your job with your health and your well-being and your mental stability. What you do for a living should never eat you alive like that. It should never occupy so much of your life and your energy that you don't have room to be a person. Does that make sense? So, there is such a thing as a job just kind of overstepping the boundaries. I don't know why I started putting everything away. We still got to do your shadow work reading. But anyway, the point is, do what's best for your health. Yeah, the ending might be brutal, but the outcome for you, if you don't make a move, feels worse. But don't let me tell you what to do. Shadow work. The moon. Okay. Diving deep into your subconscious, into your emotions. Inner work. Deep, deep inner work. But that feels like the past. That feels like you're stepping out of that. especially with the unicorn and the phoenix being there. Ooh, okay. I just heard you're getting back in touch with your spirituality. Maybe you felt disconnected for a while and you're reconnecting now. Yeah, the Hermit. It's about turning inward. And it feels like, especially with the job situation, it almost feels like with that job stuff going on and other life things happening, you've kind of fallen out of touch with your own power, your own spirituality, and your connection with spirit. But it almost feels like that love situation is bringing you back to it, along with the inner work that you've been doing for yourself. And it's integrating into the foundation of who you are and how you operate. It's almost like you can't unsee what you've already seen, if that makes sense. It's like you found something through this that you can't unsee now. And that's why you're becoming more and more aware of the spots in your life where you are not comfortable, because you don't feel like you can fully embody all that you have found yourself to be. Yeah. Okay. If you can't tell, I kind of freestyle reading, so I have no pattern. But yeah, along with the moon, we also had the Three of Cups, which is again about harmony, and then also the Three of Wands. And that's what tells me that you've already found something within yourself that makes you feel more integrated, is the best way that I can put it. Seven of Pentacles. When I was asking about this Four of Cups, on the side we also have Daughter of Cups and 10 of Cups. This feels like through your inner work that you have already done, you have found a part of yourself that was already in there, but that you've been neglecting. Yup, that's what that feels like. But now that you've rediscovered that part of yourself, or now that you're coming back to fully embodying yourself, with your spiritual self, your higher self, your shadow self, you're integrating into a whole being. Your possibilities, the possibilities are opening up for you. And you see abundance on the horizon. So what's the hang up? Because this is a shadow work reading, so what? Okay. The Son of Pentacles in this deck is depicted as someone that is kind of quieter, likes to, kind of keep to himself, shy. And he came out with strength. It feels like while you've kind of expanded internally and you're seeing the external a little bit differently, there is still a part of you that's a little nervous, is what I heard. Shy is also what I heard. Feels a little self-conscious of the external changes that are going to need to be made so that you can fully embody what you have found within yourself. Basically, taking that leap of faith, because again, here I heard the can't unsee what you already saw, can't unknow what you already know. There's, how do I explain this? It feels like, when you grow, or let me use tarantulas as an example because I have tarantulas. Every time they molt, every time they grow, they have to molt, and every time they molt, they risk death. So they kind of flip upside down, and they have to make this whole like web mat thing, and they're very vulnerable and soft and squishy when they just shed their exoskeleton. It puts them in a vulnerable spot, but that's what they have to go through to grow. So it almost feels like you've gotten to a point where you're itching inside your exoskeleton. You're just scared now to actually shed your exoskeleton so that you can be bigger. I hope that made sense. You're feeling the itch. You're seeing now your external life differently because you've changed. You've already changed internally. And now it's a matter of making adjustments in your external world so that your external world has the room for you to fully embody yourself. But making those changes takes a little bit of courage. But you are a Sagittarius, and I have a good feeling that you are going to find it. If not courage, just straight up impulse, but you'll get there. Okay, so that concludes the Sagittarius reading. I hope this resonated with someone out there. Yeah, if you liked what you saw today, feel free to like, share, subscribe. See ya.